Is it cold where you are?
And it's dark and it's snowing.
It's snowing.
Yeah.
Where are you actually?
Minnesota.
In Minnesota. I'm in Minnesota too. I'm in Duluth.
Oh, we're
So
in
our-
Ellendale, Minnesota.
Our school is in Ellendale, but we have kids from New Richland, Heartland, Ellendale, and Geneva.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, I know it's very cold. And do you know what red squirrels are doing right now?
Hibernating.
They actually don't hibernate.
Oh.
They stay awake all winter and they're busy finding their big caches of pine cones that they made during the fall. Have you ever seen pine cones being dropped out of a big pine tree?
Yeah.
And there's a squirrel up there. And that's what he's doing. He's piling up pine cones, and then he has a big midden, it's called, where he eats, and all the seeds pile up into these big piles, and he keeps his seeds handy for the wintertime. So we should all be like red squirrels, right? Stay active out of doors, even when it's cold. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to share my screen because I have a few pictures. And so just to tell you a little bit about myself, and then I'm going to get right to your questions. These are some of my books. I write for readers your age. This is some of my historical fiction. And then I have a mystery series set in on a Minnesota lake called Enchantment Lake. And I have a few picture books. And then there's The Littlest Voyageur. And what do you think? How would you categorize this book? Do you think, if you had to put it in a category?
Fiction.
They were thinking fiction, maybe historical fiction because there were voyagers, but squirrels can't talk.
Exactly.
Maybe realistic.
I think you're right. It's fiction. It is historical fiction because it does take place in a different time, and it is based on real events. You know, there were voyageurs who traveled these waterways, and a lot of this, what's in the story is really accurate about how they lived and how they traveled. And it's also kind of a fantasy because squirrels aren't really able to do some of the things or other animals that they do in this story. So I guess it's kind of called historical fantasy. And I didn't even know that was a category until I wrote this book. So we all learned something new. So why did I want to write about a little red squirrel becoming a voyageur? Well, for one reason, I like to paddle a canoe, as you can see in this picture, and that's my actual canoe and what the heck is in my boat with me? Is that a badger? Some kind of little creature. It's my dog. But my son calls her Badger because she does look kind of like a badger. I also really enjoy red squirrels, and I watch them out the window of my writing house. I'm not in my writing house right now because it doesn't get very good internet. But when I'm there, I spend a lot of time staring out that window. And what I see sometimes are little red squirrels running along the branches and along those fallen trees over the creek that's down below there. And in fact, here is a tree outside my house. And I want you to see if you can see how many baby red squirrels. Is that working? Are you seeing that movie?
Yeah.
And these are babies, and count them. See if you can figure out how many there are. I think there are 3. I only ever saw 3 at the same time. There's, whoop, see here, up here comes another one. So I really enjoy watching these little squirrels and their acrobatics up in the trees. And I thought it would be fun to write about one. They really have big personalities. So that's a fun thing to write about, as a creature with a big personality, even though they're very tiny, especially these because they're babies. So another thing that happened at our house is my husband put out a bird feeder on a long metal pole that kind of would jiggle a little bit. And in the middle of the night, we slept in the bedroom just over where this bird feeder was hanging. And in the middle of the night, I would hear this thwack, boing, thwack, boing. And I thought, there's something going on with the bird feeder. So I crept downstairs and I took a flashlight and I shined it out through the glass doors right out there, and I could see the bird feeder. And what do you think I saw? Not that. Flying squirrels. Yeah, I did not take this picture. This is a beautiful picture that I did not take, but this is what I saw. Soaring from the tree and landing on the bird feeder, and then it would swing and it would make that pole that it was on bounce like this. So that's what we were hearing up in our bedroom. Wow. So that made me very interested. You know, there are flying squirrels around, but you don't see them very often because they're pretty nocturnal. They like to be out at night a lot of the time. And then when they live way up in the trees. So you don't necessarily see them moving around up there. But that made me very interested in learning more about flying squirrels. And of course, I just had to put one in the story. So that's how Monique got to be part of the story. So, okay, what do you think I had to do once I started writing this story all about voyageurs? I had to do some research, right? And this is a hint. What did I do for my research?
So one of them said went to a museum. What did you say? Or maybe you did a play about voyageurs?
Oh, you know what I did? I wrote the words for an opera that had voyageurs in it. That's funny that you thought of that, but that's not what this picture is. The picture is from going to visit Grand Portage, where there is the old fort, like the ones the voyageurs go to. It's been reconstructed. I don't know, has anybody been there?
No.
Well, if you ever get way up the North Shore all the way to Grand Portage, be sure to visit Grand Portage National Monument, because then you can see the actual stockade exactly like it's described in the book. And the picture, the illustration of it that Cheryl drew, she drew it from the stockade that they have there now. And they also have a little visitor center that has some images and interesting things about voyageurs, including showing how much they carried. As you can see, this guy is carrying the big bundles and a barrel, and then he has a strap over his head to help carry that. So they were very strong, as it's pointed out in the story. And I also went to Voyageurs National Park, which is way up on Rainy Lake on the Canadian border. And there they have a lot of information about voyageurs, of course, and including the furs like they traded for, and the trade goods that they used to trade for the furs. So you can learn a lot at these interesting interpretive centers that there are around. I also looked at pictures. There are some beautiful paintings about voyageurs, and just to get us an idea of what they were doing and what they looked like, and the weather and the landscape and so on like that. So I do a lot of research for my historical fiction, and it is one of my favorite parts. I actually really enjoy it. But now let's see what else. I forget what else I had here. Oh, a little picture of from illustration from the book. Yeah. And this is my house where I do a lot of my writing, right? Where you saw the window earlier. And me in it writing on a piece of paper with a pen, which is how I like to write. I do that first and then I type it into, the computer but I really like to write with a pen. I want to thank you very much for your good questions and for being such a good audience and hanging in there with me, and for reading The Littlest Voyager and for reading lots of other things too, I hope. So I'm going to say goodbye, and good luck to you if you want to be writers. I say start writing, and I hope you'll all be readers throughout your life, and stay interested.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Bye.